Welcome back to Midlife Mayhem, the podcast all about midlife and the beautiful chaos it brings. I'm Kim Branham, RNBSN, and co-owner of Thin Space Wellness. This is my amazing husband, Stephen Branham. He is our physician associate and medical director for our medical practice, Thin Space Wellness. Welcome back. So this is episode 15.
It is.
15 episodes. Wow. So thank you for joining me on this.
Thanks for having me.
I woke him up super early this morning. We're very early morning people, if you don't know that already about us. So I woke him up to do the podcast and still haven't talked him into the eye patches, but I'm working on it. You'll try them one day and then you won't want to take them off. So maybe I shouldn't share them. So today we are talking about, we're expanding on adult relationships in midlife. There's been another podcast where I touched on this a little bit, but we've had a lot of conversations about relationships, how your time is spent. Life is short. My goodness, life is short. And my interview with Tim Resch, he does a great job of just embracing every single day like it's your last, because life isn't promised. And I appreciate that so much about him. And Stephen and I have been talking a whole lot the past week or so about relationships and about how your time is spent. And I think it's really important because life is so precious. And maybe getting into midlife, you start realizing, or I've started realizing where my time and my energy should be placed. Because there are definitely places in my life I can look back, and although those moments and energy that I spent on people or situations have gotten me where I am, so I appreciate them. I definitely have wasted a lot of time with worrying, stressing, being sick to my stomach about situations that I can't control. And that use of my energy is not the best.
Yeah. No, I think when you really boil it down to that, especially after your last podcast and, helping struggling parents and disease and, every moment becomes more precious when you have to go through that and see and lose people or lose relationships and say, why did I let that go so far?
Yeah. And I think one of the things the previous podcast, I can't remember which podcast it was, that I talked about, our minister at church one Sunday talking about, what was the term he used?
Leech.
Yep. Cutting the leeches. And doesn't matter if it's your mom, if it's a family member, if it's a friend, if it's a coworker, like, you cut the leeches out of your life, because if they're sucking your joy and sucking your ability to use your God-given gifts, you need to eliminate that relationship. And as hard as that can be, it's important. And I think about that sermon all the time.
Me too.
So what really inspired me to do this topic on this podcast was my amazing neighbor in Estes Park, Colorado, texted me a couple nights ago, 3 nights ago, and texted me. We had just sat down outside. We'd lit a solo stove, and Mo was cooking hot dogs over the grill, and we were just, kind of settling in. And she texted, and she was like, "Hey, do you want to come over? I'm home." And I was like, what an awesome moment. Like, I appreciate so much that she thinks enough of me to want to spend time with me. And so many times I have to say no. Like, she texts all the time and she's like, "I'm going for a walk with the dog. Do you want to come?" And I'm either seeing patients or we're doing homeschool for Mo. And so I was so excited to actually be able to go. And so I ran over there and we had just this amazing conversation, just that came out of nowhere, just about relationships, this whole topic, and how precious your time is. And she had such a great way of describing this whole situation, right? So she talked about how she had someone describe it once as how many heartbeats you have in your lifetime, and how many heartbeats that you have in any given day. And the heartbeats are not promised. So how are you spending your heartbeats? Who are you spending your heartbeats with? And I think that's such a great, beautiful way to look at it, because when you think of it that way, it really makes life finite. Like, you realize, I don't have that many days here. Like Tim said yesterday, how many
I don't remember he knew the exact figure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's like, he knew the exact number of days you have to be 80. And he's like, I hope I get to be that number of days old. But it's like so crazy to think about how fast time passes. And most of you guys know, if you follow us on social media, we're out in the Rocky Mountain National Park, except for this morning, just about every day when we're here watching the sunrise. And sunrise is one of my favorite things. And what I love about it is it really puts in perspective how fast time passes, because you see the sun come up and you see these beautiful glows, and then you see the actual sun, little tip of it, and it's up before you know it. And then before you even leave the place where you are to watch sunrise, it's up to here. And then by the time you get back to your house, it's up to here. And that's a quarter of a day. I mean,
Yeah.
it's crazy.
That's why we get up at 3 a.m.
Yeah. We try to maximize our days. But, you know, adult relationships and situations. When I woke up this morning, I think I woke up at 2:30, and I actually typed in my phone some notes because I didn't want to lose the thoughts that I had about this. But it really is like, you know, I think about situations I've been in, groups that I've joined. Like when we first came to Estes, I joined a group, an association that was extremely challenging to get into, and was part of that last year, and went to every meeting, every committee meeting they had, every board meeting. I was there. I wanted to be involved, and I just completely immersed myself in this group. That group was not the space for me. And I feel like I recognized that very quickly, but for whatever reason, I felt like I kept pushing and pushing to be part of it. And I don't know that anybody in that group knows one thing about me or what I do. I don't remember a whole lot of questioning about like, oh, tell me about your life. Tell me about what you do. Tell me about your family. But me, and I love learning about people, you know, was always asking questions, and it was always about like what other people do, but not one, it was, you know, for business. I don't think one person knows what I actually do. But I started processing through that, and I was like, how much energy and time did I put into that I could have been putting into other people where my heartbeats were more valued and my heartbeats were more necessary and needed? You know, and then there's another group in Estes that we joined, the Estes Park Chamber. We've been members of the chamber for almost 2 years now, and I'm on the board for that. I was invited to be part of the board, and that has been just such a filling group. Like every time I go, we have a meeting this morning. Every time I go to that, I feel fulfilled. I feel like I've had community and connection, and I feel valued. And I love it. And that's a place where I'm like, okay, I'm analyzing these situations where I spend my time. That's a place where I feel like it's important.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah. No, I mean, there's just only so much time in a day. And I love the heartbeat analogy. You know, we've had a few heartbeats while we're sitting here, you know, and it's valuable time. You know, so I think our lives are busy by default, and you can, you know, you have to work, you have to, you know, make a dollar so you can live. So there's things that you can't control, but where are you working? And do you love
That's
your
a great
job?
point.
You know, and I think it's scary sometimes to think transition cannot, you know, can be difficult and scary and daunting and all those terms. So
Well, I love that you said that, because, you know, even like hearing you say that, I was sitting here thinking, but I love my job. Like I've not always loved all my jobs, but again, I'm grateful for how they got me to where I am now. But what we're doing and what we've created within Space Wellness fills me up every day. And yes, it's busy. And yes, we see a lot of patients. I love all of our patients, and I feel like they become family. And I feel like those heartbeats are merited. Like
yeah,
the people that I'm investing time with are precious to me. And I feel very grateful for that. I love my job. I absolutely love it.
yeah. Well, and you know, I just think that since we're talking about relationships, transitioning from the things that we can control, where you work, you know, how you spend your money, is, you know, how you spend your time. And relationships are key. You know, can you imagine life without? You know, so which, you know, at what point do you know that it's a waste of time? I guess that's kind of the question. Is like you're meeting people, new people, if you're out and about all the time, and then it gets deeper, and at some point it's either something that has value that you want to pursue, or is there a signal that you get, when you just know that this is not healthy for me?
Yeah, and I think for me, and again, if you've listened to the podcast before, you've heard probably some stories of this, but I've spent my entire life as an eternal people pleaser. And I think it's human nature. Like I want to be accepted. I want to be liked. I want to be respected. I want to be valued. But I'm not for everybody. I'm not for everybody. And it took me a long time to learn that. Like I remember learning that when I was teaching at the middle and high school, and I probably was on the way to learning that, but didn't realize it until this one situation with someone where this lady, there's nothing I could do to win her over. I offered her, we have an Airbnb in North Carolina, a cabin. I was like, oh, you should go stay sometime. I heard you like the mountains. And nope, there was nothing I could do to win this woman over. She did not like me, and I don't know why, but I feel like there are situations where I've just kind of had to accept that I'm not for everyone, and everyone's not for me. So the times where I've tried to force those relationships and force someone to accept me, or what I wrote down in my phone this morning was thinking about the groups. If you're in a room where you have to force your way in and force your way to be accepted, you need to leave. That's not your room.
Yeah.
And it's the same with relationships. It's like when you're forcing a relationship, if you're the only person maintaining a relationship and reaching out and communicating, and then you stop communicating and the relationship dies, that should say a lot.
Yeah.
And there are multiple relationships I can think of in my life that I was clinging to, just absolutely clinging on to, because you're supposed to have those relationships with certain people in your life. Your family members, you're supposed to have close relationships with your family members. You should. Talk about don't should on yourself. Like, I feel like there are relationships that should be different, and they're not. And when you can stop and accept the relationship for what it is and stop trying to force something that's not the way that you think it's supposed to be, it's really magic, because you free yourself up to have those heartbeats given to the people that they should be given to.
Yeah. We all have a tendency to be spread too thin, and I think that needs to be noted as well. It's like, energy level. I mean, how do you give to your kids? How do you give to your husband? When you have dependents that need you, and at the end of the day, you walk through the door with how you spent your heartbeats, and you're exhausted.
Yeah.
You don't have a whole lot more to give. But I like that, what you said. It's just not a light switch, and I don't think that you have to tell people off. You just kind of like, it just fades away, right?
Yeah. And like it's like a healthy boundary that you put up, where you just recognize, like, it's not about being cruel to people or just, like you said, writing them off or anything. It's just about like just accepting relationships for what they are, and really leaning into the relationships that matter.
Yeah.
And I think I know the relationships that matter deep down. It's not about how many relationships you have. It's about the depth of the relationships.
Well, going back to our pastor's sermon, which I think spoke to both of us, that leech scenario, it's like when it's sucking you dry, those relationships where it's like years upon years, and every encounter, you know what to expect, it's going to drain you. And you're not going to get a whole lot back, even though you're trying to love on this person. It's like dealing with, there's just a wall there.
Yeah.
And everybody has different history, different past, and, we're all just so different. Like you said, you're not for everybody, but you're for me.
Oh, yeah, you're for me too.
I mean, we're all just so unique. So, I mean, the way we blend, whether it be a chamber meeting, chamber group or church group, or just the way we interact and meet people. I mean, it's continual. And then sometimes bonds get made. But I think you bringing up family, that's the especially hard topic.
That is a hard topic.
Because when you're blood, it's like this expectation. Well, I got to put up with this. It's it's my family.
Yep. It is hard. Family is hard. Um, but I love what you said about like just the, I am guilty of this, like coming home so many times from this. I mean, I'm thinking back to like years ago, a couple years ago, where I would just exhaust myself, just being busy with work and everything else, and way overdoing, like volunteering at the school too much, like saying yes to everything. I couldn't say no when people asked me to do things.
Mm.
And I would come home and precious little Mo, our son, or our other two boys, they need our attention and they have to be driven to sports and all these things. And it was just like, how do you continue to give when you're like completely depleting your bucket during the day? And my neighbor and I talked about this, like there's the book, the bucket book. I can't remember the exact name of it, but I used to read it to my middle and high school groups. It's for elementary school kids. And they would look at me like, seriously. But it's so relevant. And even like as adults, middle-aged adults, it's, you're either a bucket dumper or a bucket filler. And everybody that you meet carries around this invisible bucket, and they're either filling your bucket or they're taking away.
Mm-hmm.
And, you can deplete your own bucket by giving all of your contents to other people. And then that's how I was feeling sometimes when I'd come home, is I was just tired, and my husband needs me, my kids need me. Where's the time for me to like replenish that bucket? And if you're not refilling your bucket, you just have nothing to give. And so that can be, the bucket filling can be from other people, but it can be in the form of self-care. Yoga classes, hot yoga. Good grief. My bucket's overflowing when I go to hot yoga.
Mm-hmm.
That 1 hour class or longer is just, oh my gosh. So you find those little self-care things that fill your bucket, and it's so important to do them so that you have the extra energy to give to the people who need it.
Yeah, and I think, the tendency is, especially with family, but, this will change. I can fix this person. You
Yep.
know, if you're a fixer, which I think you kind of are, it's like,
Yeah.
hey, this is a project, but, I can change things if I just keep going.
And it goes back to that control of like trying to control what the relationship should be, which is hard. Yeah, that's a hard thing to overcome when you have so much faith in it. You want something, you want a relationship so bad, especially going back to family. Like you want that relationship to be a certain way so badly. But then when you let it go and release it, it feels so good and it feels so freeing. Even though it's sad, like, I mean, some of the family that I'm not close with anymore or don't have relationships with anymore, it's hard to let go.
Yeah.
It's really hard. But midlife, I think, we talked, I think it was the last podcast, about being kind of in that sandwich generation between your young kids, aging parents, working, trying to maintain life and take care of two different generations. There's a lot of bucket emptying going on, and not in a negative way. It's just like you're caring for these people that need your care. But the external relationships that don't have to have the focus, it's like recognizing when they're worth maintaining and when they're not, and being able to let it go.
Yeah. Well, and I don't know that always hits you until midlife,
Yeah.
like these topics sometimes, because I think when you're building a career and building a family, whatever it is that you're doing when you're young, the income earning years and just busy, you're just getting through the day sometimes.
Yeah.
And you maybe have these situations all over the place, and you just don't have the energy to stop and go, is this worth my time?
Yeah. When all of this makes me think about blended families. And blended families are not always an easy topic to talk about because, of course, especially when kids are involved, I find that with Stephen and I, like, we want to be respectful to our ex-spouses who are our boys' parents. But there was a time, there were so many years where I lived like this. Like my nervous system was like this all the time. And I was always stressed and always like, I feel like my being was dependent on the external people, the other parents, as our kids call them. Like, it's just like, you're at their mercy for schedules. You're at their mercy for how they handle situations. And this goes for them with us as well. It's not just like, oh, just them. It's like when you're co-parenting with an ex, it's extremely challenging. You have to have that relationship. There's no choice. Like you can't cut the leeches in those situations. And it makes it hard. But I remember I handled our kids' schedules. Our two older boys are 2 weeks apart. They actually had the same due date, but Colson was 2 weeks premature.
Yep.
So, they were always very close growing up. We got married when they were 4, and I kind of was the type A scheduler. And so I would make their summer schedules. I coordinated their sports. I kind of like led the ship when it came to like the schools that they went to. And it was always, it always felt like a battle, and having to prove like, okay, this here, it's like an argument. Like I felt like I had to be a lawyer, like here, let me prove this case to you. And then the outcome was typically like, okay, we'll do this, which is maybe what I'd planned or suggested in the first place, but it was always met with resistance.
Yep.
And that's probably the case for a lot of ex co-parents, like when there's just always, it's kind of like that power struggle or something. And I will never forget the day the kids were in middle school. And there was a summer schedule that I put together, like I did every summer, and it was met with resistance again. And I about lost it. I feel like it was my breaking point, and realized I can't do this anymore. I don't want to be in charge of the schedules. Like, just tell us when we have the kids. I was just so over trying to like fight for what it should be. And since that time, I just feel like my life is so much more at peace. And I feel like my nervous system, like I had one day last week that was really rough. And it started with this, what we're talking about, adult relationships, in a really challenging conversation with a friend. But I don't have a lot of those days. And I feel like I lived in those days for so long.
Yeah. Well, and relationships require respect, for them to be workable. So you're not married to this person anymore. You know their quirks. You learn very quickly, the other half's quirks, and it's just how you deal with it. But when it's met with, I don't respect you, I'm never going to show appreciation for these efforts you're putting into our kids. And sometimes it's quite the opposite, where it's like, I'm going to tell people you're a bad parent. Just all the negativity, so I think all of those pillars for a relationship, just dropped my phone. All those pillars, they've already been broken down when you go through a divorce, and then you've got these wonderful baby, these kids that you created, and you want to spend time with them, but you still have to manage a relationship with somebody that you just ended it with.
Yep.
And I think that poses so many challenges, and I love when I see people that make it work really, really well. And I don't know that we've dealt with that.
And there have been moments, but there are moments that I feel like, and I could be completely like losing my mind thinking this, but I feel like the times where things have worked with those difficult relationships that we've had to maintain have been us making those relationships okay. And then it's when we can't handle carrying the relationship anymore and we throw our hands up in the air, that's where it goes crazy.
Well, and I think that's where boundaries start being built. And, it's like, let's regroup and try this another way. Because, you got to communicate. There's got to be a relationship there, but it's not going to be perfect in a lot of cases. But, you've got to just regroup and try it a different way. And sometimes taking your hands off the wheel is the best thing you can do. And I know that was a good decision for you. And
it's still hard. I had a moment the other night. We had a situation where we were completely out of control of something that we were supposed to have. It's holiday scheduling and this and that. And we don't have a choice in our holiday that we're supposed to have with one of our kids.
Yeah.
And we should. We should, because it's supposed to be our holiday, but it was taken away. And
With no communication.
with no communication, yeah. And that's the hard part, is that the old me, the old Kim, the controlling Kim, wants to jump in and be like, this is not fair, and just be staunch. And it's like, is the battle worth it? No, it's fine. It's just, holidays are just another day. I've learned that about holidays. Like, I don't care if we celebrate Thanksgiving and Christmas on, in January. I really don't. It's like, it's not about the day. And we've always been like that about birthdays and things, because as a blended family, especially, you have to be flexible in that way or you'll go insane.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you're fighting for every little thing that you think you're supposed to have, like I was doing before, I'm so grateful. And again, like I had a rough day the other day, not related to this situation. First time in a very long time that I've had a day like that. And then when I got upset the other night about our holiday plans being just taken away from us,
Mm-hmm.
I got really upset. And Steven and I had already had the conversation about heartbeats. And he was like, well, honey, it's not worth it. Don't waste your heartbeats. And I wanted to punch him in the face. Sorry. And I was like, could you stop being positive for just 1 minute? Let me just be mad. Oh, but no, thank you for throwing my words, our neighbor's words, in my face. No, but
problem.
it is no problem. It is so important to just be able to step back. And, I think in those moments too, it's easy to lose your focus on faith and to know that God's got all this. What does it matter? What does it matter if we're not, the divorce papers are such a blessing because they protect the children, they protect the parents' time with each other, but they are so hard sometimes when it's got to be like staunched by the papers, or it's, like I remember you telling me about with holidays, Christmas Day, it had to be noon on Christmas or whatever time it was according to your papers. And it's like, where's the flexibility? How is that good for the kid? Like, let the kid spend Christmas Day with a parent, and then, it's just got to be flexible. But it's hard to be flexible when you're being met with resistance, because then you want to be defensive and be resistant back.
Yeah. It gets threatening. Well, I'm going to call my attorney.
Oh gosh.
It's like, okay.
How many attorney letters have I gotten over the years? Oh, these blended families. What a blessing.
Well, and I think in general with relationships, it takes time to see true color.
That's fair.
That's different than the blended discussion, because you've already lived with these people and were married to them and went through childbirth or whatever. But adult relationships, sometimes they look like kids' relationships.
Yeah. I used to tell my middle and high school kids this when I taught, like, things don't really change with relationships when you're old.
Yeah.
I would joke with them about that. Like, I'm old and I still have these same struggles that you guys have. Like, somebody doesn't like you, or somebody's talking badly about you, or it doesn't change.
Or somebody takes your toy.
Oh, somebody takes, yeah. It's pretty funny. But it is. It's just relationships, the relationship challenges don't change. Just the way that we handle it changes, I think. And our ability to be stronger and to be more confident. Because, in high school and middle school, it feels devastating when somebody's talking poorly about you. Well, it doesn't feel good now. And it can feel devastating to people, especially if it's like smearing your name to people that you love and, it's hurting relationships. But we handle it differently because we have to, and because we've matured, right? And been through more experiences. But
Well, and your kids are watching.
And your kids are watching. Yep.
I mean, if you see a kid that's out of control, go find their parent. And, we talk about your ex-husband quite a bit, being a hothead and just losing control and throwing things. And, it's like a child.
Mm-hmm.
And, that, how many times do you enter in to those situations where you know what the outcome is going to be?
Well, and again, you can't not have that relationship. Like, there are relationships you can't not have because of the blended family dynamic. But when it comes to people that you have a choice about, like even family, friends especially, I know that I've been guilty throughout my life. And I feel like part of it probably comes from the trauma I went through with losing my mom at a very young age. I want deep relationships. Like I want to be accepted by people. I want to just like I don't do surface well. How's the weather? Like I don't do surface well. Like I crave deep and meaningful relationships. And because of that, I feel like I'm too trusting and I give people way too many chances, so to speak. And that's not to say I want to write somebody off, but I keep trusting them just as much, even though they prove that they're not worthy of my trust. And then I end up getting really hurt in those situations, in those relationships, if they go away, or, if I've shared something with someone and then I feel rejected or I feel like abandoned, I feel like it's me because I've given too much of myself. So I've had to learn that a lot in midlife, is just like when to give of myself and when to just be okay with just being a little surfacey, but caring about people. And then appreciating the deep relationships more.
Yeah. Well, judgment could be a whole nother podcast,
Yeah.
Because that enters in big time with relationships. It's,
Oof.
when you have the best intentions, you're doing your job, being a parent, being a spouse, being a friend, and then you're judged, and it's not factual a lot of the times. It's just,
It's somebody's own junk.
Yeah.
It could be jealousy. It could be resentment. It's just a lot of times it's somebody else's baggage that they carry with them that impacts how they judge you or how they treat you. And grace has been a huge word that's been coming up for me the past couple weeks. Just the ability to give grace to people is crucial. Like even in any relationship, but just to give grace and just know that if somebody does something off color, maybe they're having a bad day. Maybe they're going through something. But there's a difference in giving grace and wasting heartbeats. And it's a really fine line. Like it's hard. It's caring people. Like I know so many people that I'm friends with, our patients, are just very deeply caring people. And when you care so much about human beings and just wanting people to be well, and it's hard to differentiate when grace is necessary and when a healthy boundary is necessary.
Yeah.
And where you're placing your heartbeats.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. I think this is a great topic, because it's every day. I mean, unless you're just going to lock yourself in a room and not have communication with the outside world, you're going to have relationships, and you see them come and go. I mean, if you look back 5 years, 10 years ago, like where were you? Who were you with? What were you doing?
Yep.
And that heartbeat, like getting up and doing our sunrises and grabbing the Bible or doing, devotional or whatever first thing in the morning. I think that's crucial too, is like, how are you going to start your day? Because if you start it with your phone out and, I don't know, there's just prioritization of how you're going to spend your time from the minute you open your eyes.
Yeah. It's kind of like one of those keystone habits that like when you wake up in the morning, it sets your whole day. And, James Clear, the book, The Habit Loop. I think that's the name of it. The Habit Loop.
No, what is that?
Oh, I'll think of it. I'm sorry, James. One of my favorite books. But he talks about that, about how like, you have this main habit, this keystone habit that just sets the rest of your day on this trajectory. And so it's like, if you wake up and you don't do that keystone habit, like you kind of don't do all the other healthy, good habits that you want to establish for your life. And so I know one of mine is making the bed. Like, and I got that from his book. It's like when you wake up and you make the bed, it makes you feel like a neat and tidy person. So the rest of my day, I kind of feel like that. Whereas if the days that I don't make my bed, that's when I had a bad day the other day.
Uh-oh.
I made that connection when I got home and the bed was unmade, and I went over and just was like making the bed.
Should I go make the bed?
You didn't make the bed yet?
Well, you drug me into the basement.
Podcast world. But it's like those little things, and it really sets the tone of your day and the way that you go. I totally agree with that.
Yeah. I had a thought a minute ago, and I'm trying to bring it back. Communication. The way you communicate, because in this world that we're in, you just got your phone on you all the time. And we're just not picking up and calling people all day long. You're texting or emailing, and I am so guilty of like, wow, that seemed a little punchy. It's like, and they may not have meant it punchy at all. They're rushing to their car and all
It's
the.
so easy to misread, yeah, because you're putting your own inflection on the words that you're reading.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think communication's key and all this stuff. And, so when you're face to face and it's negative, 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 each and every time you go through that door with somebody, that's different. But I just think when you have established relationships that are, doing good things, you can even have bad days with that. Misread things. And I think that's where the grace comes in.
Grace and more communication. I have had a friend, I won't name her name, but she's one of my favorite people in Estes Park. Everybody probably knows who she is by now, but we text constantly. And there was a day that I texted and I was busy and I was just responding in between patients. And I didn't give any emojis, which I normally am a big emoji girl. Like when I'm sending text messages with lots of hearts and smiley faces. And she talked with me about it and just said, I thought that I felt like you were maybe upset about something because there were no emojis. And I was like, I just hugged her. I was like, thank you for talking to me. Because how many people would like get that impression and just be like off put and just not talk about it. So like that communication piece is so important. If there's a misunderstanding, people shy away from conflict. So I sometimes am guilty of doing that where I'll think something, but I give grace instead, which is easier, right? But realistically, as good as grace is to give, I need to ask some questions and clarify so that there's no like harboring of things and things don't build up.
Excuse me.
So I really appreciated that about her doing that, because that's a true friend when they can kind of, that situation wasn't like this, but it's like when you can hold a mirror up for someone, like in our relationship and marriage, I should be able to hold a mirror up for you and you should be able to hold one up for me to show us when there are areas that we need to work on. And it's the same with very close to your friends, with family members, with people. Like those are the relationships that are important to pour into, because you want people who are going to call you out when you need to be called out.
Absolutely. Yeah.
As hard as it is to hear sometimes, it's like accountability. Yeah. So those are the deep and meaningful heartbeats that are valid.
Yeah. I mean, heartbeats aren't just happy times all the time. It's just, we grow.
I think we stay the same. They're going to get sick of us quoting movies. But no, I just think this, I know that I've touched on this topic before on a podcast, and this felt really necessary to do this week, just because it's been on our hearts and apparently other people's. I mean, for that to come up with me, my neighbor, and she was like, I was just thinking about this. Like, it's busy. Midlife is busy and hectic and chaotic, and where you place your time and your heartbeats is important. So think about how you're doing that, how you're spending your heartbeats, and really spend some time processing through where they need to be placed.
Life's short.
Sure is.
Goes quickly. We've seen it.
Yep. But thank you for spending your heartbeats with us. Thank you for spending your heartbeats on this podcast. I just can't thank you enough for listening, and the feedback that we've gotten about our podcast episodes has just been amazing. I love connecting with people, and, speaking of midlife relationships, like connecting with new people, because there are so many amazing people out there. And I feel like we connect with the people we're supposed to connect with. And I feel like a lot of relationships have been very God-driven, and come from things just as simple as this. Like when this speaks to someone and they reach out and send me a message. I mean, that's a heartbeat that I appreciate more than you know. So thank you.
Thanks for having me today.
Well, thank you for allowing me to wake you up early. And
sunrise.
Sunrise. Time's a passing. So I hope you guys have a wonderful week, and we will have a new episode next week. I can't say at the moment what it's going to be about, but I have a feeling it'll be a thin space moment with someone. And I need to check with her first and see if she's okay with being on the podcast before I announce who it is. Or maybe I should, like, what do they call that? Like, voluntelling. When you're voluntelling someone, they're going to be on the podcast. But anyway, so yeah, our thin space focus will probably go on a little bit. But if you have questions, if you have topic ideas, things you'd like to hear about on the podcast, please reach out and let me know. It's kim@thinspacewellness.com. You can find me on social media. The handle is Kim Branham, RN. And then Steven's fun page that he does is The Untamed View on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube.
Animals, lots of cool
Lots of
animals.
wildlife and Estes Park life. It's lots of fun. So join us again. Thank you for listening, and I hope you guys have a great week.
Bye.